What is going on, Buff Nation? Welcome back to another video. So today was media day with the rest of the players. We had Jordan Seaton, we had Shedeur Sanders, we had OCDC, and of course, Coach Prime talked to everybody. It was fantastic to listen to. Felt like we were back in football season a little bit. Got to talk about spring day, what it meant so far, and then obviously Coach Prime addressed some things during the offseason that he heard that he wanted to go over. So you know what we're going to do. We're going to talk all about it. Before we do any of that, roll the intro, baby. Let's go. I flushed my juice down in the club. Never gets old. Never gets old. So first order of business, we talked about a few of these things in our last video. So it's kind of cool to see Coach Prime talk about some of them as well. First order of business, TV slot. So the TV slot and where they're going to be aired during the spring game, ESPN is going to have their draft day. So they're not going to be able to air on ESPN like they did last year. Alabama will be on ESPN, but it's on a different day. So they are taking that ESPN slot for this year. Right now, he said, look, they're in talks with Fox, possibly Pac-12, and their TV and them doing something. So he's like, look, we're going to get it figured out, and we're going to sell this thing out. So don't worry. It's going to be on TV. How and when and where, we don't know any of those details yet, but I imagine we'll probably have that thing hashed out here in the next couple of weeks so they can start advertising and promoting that on where it will be. And then he spoke to the running back room a little bit because people are saying, like, hey, what are you looking at? What are you feeling? He's, look, that running back room is really thick. He spoke to Maskell. He spoke to Dylan Edwards. He looked, both those guys are going to be good. He goes, a freshman coming in is going to be good. And he goes, I wouldn't be surprised if we hopped into the transfer portal and looked into that as well, too. Look, in my opinion, running back room is a dime a dozen room. Alongside the wide receiver room, there is a ton of talent. He even talked about it in his interview about people were kind of comparing this level of college football in the comparison to when he was at Jackson State. He goes, look, you guys are talking about like it's God out there, right? Like this level of football. It's like, look, the difference here, skill position-wise, it's the same. Quarterback, wide receivers, running backs, all the same. Quarterback, a little bit different. He goes, the trenches, much different. But, it's not this crazy jump. And again, skill position-wise, there is a lot of talent to go around. So, look, it's a good problem to have. I believe that running back room is much thicker than people want to give it credit to. It didn't show much last year, given the fact of the lack of handoffs and the lack of production from the offensive line. And speaking of offensive line, there's a clip on our Shorts channel that Coach Prime, I love when he comes out and said this because remember last year he ridiculed the offensive line a little bit. And a lot of people were like, kind of roasting him for it. Like, oh, I wouldn't want to play for a coach like that if he's calling my offensive line out. And he's like, look, why am I getting called out for things that you guys are already saying? He goes, you're saying it, you believe it, I know it, you know it, it's no secret, the O-line knows it, we all know it, I'm just telling you that I'm already aware of it, and we're going to fix it, and this is my opportunity to promote it, we're going to talk about it. Very interesting there. He also talked, again, we've heard him talk about this before, especially that linebacker room, to expect more. He goes, we've got some guys already on the list, you may know some names, you probably don't know the names, that we're going after in the portal. I expect this portal to be absolutely electric. I've been saying this since early February, and it already seems to be heating up. Caden Proctor, offensive lineman, transferred from Alabama to Iowa. They got hit with recruiting allegations that they were tampering beforehand, and now he's headed back to Alabama. How that works, I don't know. The portal hasn't even opened yet, but he says once the portal open, I'm heading back to Alabama. I think there's going to be a lot of kids that jump ship, or maybe that went somewhere too quickly, didn't work out like they wanted to. Things are going to go a different direction, especially given this circumstance here with Caden Proctor. I expect more of those situations to happen. So keep your eyes and ears peeled, and of course, turn the bell on, because if it does happen, we'll be all over it, talking about it, giving your thoughts and opinions about it. And something else, too, which I think we all knew this, but they asked him kind of, hey, how do you feel where you are from last year to this year? And he was very adamant. He goes, we are much further along than we were last year, more than you could ever believe. And look, you have to believe that. You've got everything's established. You've got guys that are coming back for another year. You're able to now just plug and chug versus trying to find everything and trying to, just see what works. You already have an idea of what works. So good stuff there. Now, I do want to play a clip where he talks about the addition of the NFL staff. And obviously we know how much of an impact it's going to be, but I love what he says here about speaking with the recruits and how to manage these guys. And I think this is something, it nails it on the head, because Coach Saban kind of talks about this in his why he's upset with the NIL and how the game is moving, where Coach Prime is just coming in and understanding where the game is going and taking advantage of it. Take a listen.
Several other pieces are going to be added as soon as the spring is over. You know that's going to happen this summer, and we already know. Some names you may not know, but we already do. So it's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be phenomenal.
Coach Kyle Newman from the Denver Post. So with Livingston, his experience with the Bengals, obviously Shermer, decades in the NFL.
Keep going.
How do you see that?
No, stop.
How do you
Keep going. No. We got several other guys from the NFL. Keep going.
How do you see all the NFL experience translating to this
This-
year?
How can you tell somebody where to go if you haven't been there? It's hard for you guys to tell me how to get to your crib, if you hadn't been there, but that's where you live. It's easy that way, right? And it's these kids today, man, it's not how we grew up. My parents say, because I said so, and you took it. Why? Why? Prove it to me. Show me. Like, it's the show me type of young generation and prove it to me generation. Let me see your credentials type of generation. So when you compose a staff that pretty much embodies the NFL and where they're directed to, that is phenomenal. I think eight out of the 11 staffers either played or coached in the NFL. And that's phenomenal. Then you throw me in, it's 9. That's just tremendous to me. It really.
I think where he nails it on the head here again is going back to that old style of just parenting or coaching is like, hey, because I told you so. And you kind of just shut up. But now with this new age with NIL, look, whether you like the way this is going to come out or not, you've got a lot of kids coming out of high school. They're making more money than obviously they've ever known what to do with. There's going to be a natural ego that gets grown within that environment, right? So you got these kids, these high school kids going, look, like, who are you to talk to me? And so it becomes bigger than that. It's like, look, I'm not here to have this back and forth with you. I've been there. I've shown this. Even Jordan Seaton in an interview later on talks about Phil Lowdown. He's like, look, this guy's been here. He goes, what I love about Phil is like, even if I do something right, he finds the small details in what I'm doing incorrect to make sure that I get better. And the guy's been doing it for 17 years. So you're humbled automatically. It's not just some coach, just some guy coming in telling you how to do it. Although that coach maybe have a lot of credentials, when you got kids coming in, making a ton of money as a freshman, they're gonna just have that ego about them. But it's a little bit easier. It comes down a little bit easier when somebody's been doing this and played at that next level, which is where everyone's trying to get to. And again, this isn't a new secret. This isn't a new formula. I think that it's going to be much heavier than it was prior. And I think NFL coaches might have NFL players, ex-players, are going to start finding themselves more likely to find themselves in this position than they were before. That's all that I'm saying. And again, I think Coach Prime has taken full advantage of that. Again, him being an ex-player and being able to tap into those other players. And again, it's just having the will and the know-how of having conversations with these kids. You heard Nick Saban, or maybe you didn't, where he talked about, like, after the game of losing to Michigan, he went in hoping they kind of have a great, head on the shoulders, like, hey, let's go rock and roll. And they're like, hey, how much are you going to pay me? Nick Saban was out of the loop. And I kind of predicted this about 2 years ago. You could see things changing, and he was losing his lust. He was losing what he had known for so long. He was losing his touch in the game. And look, this is why I like Coach Prime. I think he's coming in. He's going to put everybody on their toes and knock them back a little bit. I do want to play one clip of what Jordan Seaton had to say and why he chose Colorado. And then we're going to talk about something we talked about just a few days ago, where Coach Prime, an article came out about Coach Prime not visiting players, which is very interesting. He kind of addresses this. But let's listen to Jordan Seaton really quick, and then we'll talk about that.
Jordan David Owen with The Athletic. What was it something that the coaching staff said to you, in the recruiting process that sort of won you over? And what did you make of all the noise around early signing day when it didn't look like it was certain that you were going to end up here?
That's all right. So 2 things. For answer your first question, what made this school different? Every visit I went on, they told me how good I was or how best. Like, I'm the best. I'm this. I'm that. I came here, Coach Prime. He had 3 things I needed to work on. He said size, your core. What do you mean by size? Like, just looking the part, weight room size. And he told me I need to bend my hips a little bit more. So I'm like, I could work with that, because, like, right now you're trying to elevate me, and I'm not even here. So it's like you're investing in me, and you just want me to win, and I haven't even came to your school yet. So that kind of stood out to me the most, and I don't really like to have the yes men in your ear, because then, a lot of that is just gets worse. And then for the signing day part, we was in Miami. We just didn't have no Wi-Fi. So we couldn't submit the form. So, yeah, we just ain't have no Wi-Fi. So the form.
I gotta admit, man, with each passing interview and each time we get to see more and more Jordan Seaton, I'm becoming more and more fond of this young man. I think he is phenomenal. Just hearing him talk and the way he even talks about why he chose Colorado, I love that. And when they asked Coach Prime, hey, what do you feel about your team? He goes, I got dogs on my team. And this is exactly what he means. Is you've got somebody who knows they're good, who knows they're the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. They know they're great. I don't need you to tell me that I'm great. I need to know how I'm going to get to the next level and what am I going to improve on. And That's that fine balance, right? Some of these kids coming out, they just want, I'm him. I'm going to take my money and I'm going to run with it, right? And Coach Prime is pretty basically come out, hey, we're not going after those guys. That's not who I want. You're going to get taken care of. Don't worry about that. But there's a bigger project to this that you need to be focused on. And just right there, Jordan Seaton was like, that was what I was looking for. I wasn't looking to worry about being praised or pampered or any of those things. This is what I wanted. And look, for me, again, this is just one more recruiting tactic for other players out there. You're either going to turn off some guys with that, which is great. You don't want them anyways. Or you're going to turn some guys on to you that may have been kind of on the fence of like, I like how Coach Prime went about this and I like how he handles his business. Another thing that, again, we talked about it on the last episode where an article came out about how Coach Prime doesn't travel to kids' homes. He addresses that. Kind of comes out like, hey, who wrote that? And almost wanted to explain it a little bit more. And first off, he started by saying, and we've talked about it before, is like the budget isn't there. He's like, if I flew down to Florida and I go to IMG, you know what's going to happen? He's like, the coaches in that surrounding area, the schools in those surrounding areas, they're going to get upset because I can't travel there. We don't have the ability to go to every single school within that little dot. I can only go to one. So if I go to one, now I'm hurting myself more by going to that school than versus if I just stay home because I'm making people feel outcasted. And we talked about that. They don't have the budget to just hop around freely. So you have to be smarter. And he also said, look, I want to be smart. I want to make sure I save money for the school and things like that. Spot on with that. He also then alluded to, which we've talked about, with that 40-40-20 attack where you're mostly going after the transfer portal. He goes, look, these guys in the transfer portal, they don't care about being paraded around. They don't care about seeing what's going on. I'm not going to go visit them at their home, things like that. They want to know. They don't care about the picture, right? They want to know, what are you going to do for me? How can you elevate me to the next level? And then how much am I going to get paid, right? That's part of it. That's always going to be part of it. So he's like, we know how to have conversations with those guys. So right now, his formula, the way that college football is transcending into this transfer portal, it's funneling right to him. He doesn't have to do these things of the old way. He's having a hard time doing it because of financial reasons, but he's using it to his advantage. He kind of even says, I'm Coach Prime. I don't have to go to people's houses. He even said, when I was a recruit, he goes, I didn't want Coach Bowden in my house because basically it was dirty. I don't want people coming up in my house. He goes, and parents want to see how I'm living here in Colorado. They want to see what we're doing. They want to see where their baby is going to be living for the next 3 to 4 years. That's what's important to them. That's where they're headed. So if they care enough to come see me, then we'll make it happen, which is everything we kind of alluded to anyways. And look, I think this tactic works when you live in a society, when you're in this world, this college landscape world where everyone's doing the exact opposite. Everyone is traveling. Everyone is doing these things, which it's going to work. It's fine. Everyone has their ability and there were different ways of doing it, but that doesn't mean this way isn't going to work. It's different. It's unorthodox. And again, the biggest question is like, hey, is the 40-40-20 going all in on the portal going to work? Look, I think with the upgrade they saw last year, I think you can make a run. FSU is a prime example of what you can do. That team was 80% transfer portal. Took 2 years. Here we go in a second year, but it still, was 80% transfer portal. So look, all in all, great day, great conversations all around. Great to hear from Coach Prime. Great to hear from Jordan Seaton. Obviously, we had the OCDC and Shador Sanders. If you guys want to see a whole breakdown of that, obviously there's a lot to go over with those guys talking as well. Let me know in the comment section below, and let me know how you're feeling about the spring game, about just spring practice, and about where this Buffs team is headed for next year. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, baby.